In today's episode, we speak with Brad Hart, the creator of Market Your Course and Make More Marbles. We discuss how to work backwards to achieve execution and the secret to learning to win. And finally, life lessons from penguins. Stay tuned.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast
with your host, Thor Conklin.
Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Brad Hart is committed to helping entrepreneurs and investors reach their full potential so they can focus on solving the grand challenges of our time. He is the creator of Market Your Course and Make More Marbles. He has experience in real estate, investments, trading, marketing, sales, and peak performance strategies. He's been teaching entrepreneurs from every walk of life the skills to thrive in the modern world, grow their incomes, increase the value of their assets, and make wise investments into their future and the future of the world. Please welcome Brad Hart. Brad, thank you so much for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of today's interview. You know, great bio. You got to start off, though. One thing that most people don't know about you, but I do, is that you're obsessed with penguins. What's the penguin thing?
What's the penguin thing? You know, I got to tell you, Thor, thank you for having me, by the way. It's just, they're all dressed up. There's nowhere to go. They're monogamous. They mate for life. They do really, really cute things like visit people who saved their lives. They'll travel 5,000 miles just to visit somebody like a man in Brazil who saved a penguin's life, and it comes and visits him from Antarctica every single year. It's kind of incredible. I mean, they're just a fascinating animal. I really love them. So actually, my girlfriend's also from Brazil. We just took her on she had never been trick-or-treating before, right? Halloween's not a thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, just literally 2 weeks ago, we were out in Asheville, North Carolina. We were just out in the town. I'm like, you know what we're going to do tonight? She's like, what? I surprised her. I brought out 2 penguin outfits. So we went on the town and went trick-or-treating. So like, we're going up to these people's houses, and they're like looking at us like, I know we're adults, but she's a grown woman who's never been trick-or-treating, so just play along. So it was really fun. But yeah, I love penguins. They're my favorite animal by far. Any black and white animal, though, will suffice. I mean, you know, we got penguins, we got panda bears, we got killer whales. They're all great.
Well, you know, I learned more about penguins there in about 30 seconds than I think I ever could know. So that was awesome. That was just like rapid fire comments and data. And that's one of the things I love about you. It's like get to the point and it's like boom, 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 boom. And we're going to rapid fire through this interview. And I know that you got a ton of stuff coming out about business. Let's start with the hedge fund. What was it like creating and running a hedge fund?
Yeah, so that was actually a fun story. I'll start with kind of how it came about, because I think everybody wants to know, like, how did you just fall into this? Well, I kind of just fell into it. It was a weird thing, right, Thor? So what happened was I was really obsessed with 3D printing starting in about 2009. And now stereolithography, which is just 3D printing where they lay layers down of an object instead of like printing it, instead of like stamping it out of a mold or using some sort of other manufacturing process, has been around since the 80s, right? But it only began to get really popular in the common culture, and I would say the last 5 or 6 years. So around 2009, I was obsessed with this technology. I got to go to Miami and spend 2 days with Richard Branson. I was talking his ear off about it. He was super excited about it. And just going to change a lot of things, not just the way we manufacture, but also the way we can create customized solutions for everybody. So we're moving from a world of mass production to a world of mass customization. Everybody gets the same widget to now everybody can get their own widget, which is really exciting for me, and it'll change a lot of things. So the way I got into that was, through a couple conversations I had with entrepreneur friends who was on the cutting edge and what was happening, and I started investing in some of the stocks. So I was really vocal about these stocks. I thought they were going to do pretty well, and lo and behold, I was right. I got an article in Forbes about it that got read almost 300,000 times. And one of my friends, Morgan from Toronto, actually called me up and he's like, hey, man, I took one of your stock tips. And these stocks had blown up. They had gone up like 10x. I didn't even catch the whole move. I only got a small portion of it. But he said he had invested in one of these stocks and paid for his wedding with it single-handedly, just that one stock tip. So he was super excited. And he calls me up and he says, how can I give you money to manage? Like, how do we keep this rolling? And I'm like, I have no idea. So I turned around and I started asking really smart people hey, what do I do to manage people's money? They're like, oh, well, you got to start a hedge fund. I'm like, a hedge fund? Don't I need to have a Series 7 or 63 or this one or that one? And they're like, no, you just need to, you set up an LP in Delaware. You have this general partnership, and this is how it kind of works. And here's the ins and outs. So I took it upon myself to go ahead and work all that out. I hired the lawyers. I hired the third-party administrators, the consultants, talked to a lot of mentors, figured the whole thing out. I made a list store of 200 people, and I just got on the phone with every single person. And I had a conversation. I said, hey, this is, what we're looking to do. This is what we're hoping to accomplish. We want to double your money inside of a year, which I'm very proud to say we did. We did 106% return inside of 1 year in 2013. Our best month was $1 million plus in profits between myself and my partnerships and all the people that were involved. Obviously I don't get to keep all that money. That would have been nice, but that was just a really cool experience. And what I learned from it was that it wasn't for me long term. I was really excited about doing it. It taught me a heck of a lot about the way investments work and how trading works. But ultimately it was not my passion overall. But it was a very exciting time in my life for sure.
So, a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, go through the same thing. They're sitting there, they've got a good career going, but they're just not excited about it. What was that moment that brought you to that decision that said, you know what, I'm making great money, but I'm just not following my passion? What was there a moment that just a light bulb went off or something happened?
Yeah, and that actually led me to Tony's work too, which is another story. But the moment when it really hit me was it was May of 2013. We had just made a boatload of money. We had our best month ever. It was more money than I'd ever seen or heard of. I mean, 7 figures in a month between myself and my partners, like I said. So it just kind of blew me away at what was possible. And then it blew me away how little my life changed the next day. Like I just, had this kind of romanticized version or vision of like, I'm going to feel great. It's going to be a celebration. It's going to be incredible. But I actually felt kind of depressed afterwards. Like I put in all this time and energy and money and effort and 18-hour days and working my butt off, and I quit drinking and I focused all my energy into this thing. It was successful and it was great. And then I was like, you know how your brain works. It's like the law of familiarity kicks in. It's like, okay, well, what's next? And I was like, wait a second, is this what life is going to be? Just a pile of money, no legacy, no passion, no purpose. Nobody's better off because I made some money in the stock market, right? It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. It could have just as easily been going the other way. I mean, thankfully not, but I just started to realize, Thor, I was like, hey, my life is more than this, right? My legacy is going to be more than this. And I started to really at that moment, even though I kept the fund going for about another year, I started at that moment to really plant the seeds of what could go from here? Where could I go from here? Where could I take the skill sets and the knowledge and the person I am as a result of what I've done and now help more people and leverage more things, right? Instead of just making a small pool of investors a little bit more money.
Sure. I understand completely. Let me ask you this. Everything comes down to execution. You hear it over and over again on this show. You obviously are a master at execution. What are some of the tools, the tricks, the tips, the strategies, the psychology that you use in order to execute at the highest level?
That's a great question, Thor. And I think it's really a couple things. And they're going to be very simple things that you may have even already heard before, but I'm going to harp on them a little bit more. Is understanding your outcome, right? Everybody says like you got to know what you want and why you want it at a really deep level, and you got to understand that very clearly so that you can recite it. You can write pages and pages. Sometimes I'll just sit in a room for an hour with an idea. I have these big whiteboard size Post-it notes. They're like the sticky notes that are 36 inches by 24
Yeah, I got
inches.
them.
They're all over my apartment, right?
And what do you need? What do you need paint on the walls? I just have those.
Exactly, that's my wallpaper, and it's all the ideas, right? And I flesh out all the ideas out, and I get really clear on what they are. And I think about them from every angle, and I ask a lot of smart people. I'm highly extroverted, if you didn't guess. I have a big network, and I love talking to people. So I'll just call up like the 3 to 5 smartest people I know about that given topic or idea, and I'll try to think about it from every angle. I'll try to see all the opportunities, all the risks, all the threats. You do kind of like a SWOT assessment. What are the resources we have? What are the resources we need to make this successful? And I really get clear on the things that'll move the ball forward. And I work kind of backwards from the goal, if you will. Like if I want this to exist, okay, well then this will have to happen and this will have to happen. And I kind of work my way back to where I am today. And then I say, okay, well, what's the first step? And I take that step right then in that moment, I make a decision. So now you're committed to it. And I get leverage on myself even further. I tell people I respect and I don't want to let down that I'm going to do this thing by this date, right? So even if I fail, it's okay to fail, but I'm going to make that progress. I'm going to consistently go towards it. And in the aggregate, you're going to win, right? Even the best hitters of all time, Babe Ruth, he struck out 7 times out of 10. So it's not about winning every single time, but it's about understanding what are the key simple driving factors that are actually going to move the ball forward. Which of those are inside your strengths? Like, for example, me getting on the phone with 200 people is a great use of my skill sets and time. and leverage. And that's my flow. I love it. It lights me up. I don't dread it getting on the phone. It's like talking to my friends all day. I love that job, right? But if you stick me behind some spreadsheets and you make me figure out how the math is going to work and where all the money's going to come from and do paperwork and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to shrink pretty quickly. Like I can do it, but it's not my number one best purpose, which is what I learned when I was doing the hedge fund every day. It was too numbers heavy for me, right? So by putting yourself in flow and doing what it is that you're great at and you're living in your genius, you can just crank on that. And you should really only have 1 to 2 jobs in your startup, whatever it is. And then you can partner with or hire or leverage or build systems around or software around or technology around everything, literally everything else. And then eventually replace yourself too so that your business can scale and grow. Because if you're the bottleneck, the business can't grow. So anything that you're trying to do, whether it be business, whether it be starting a foundation, a charity, whether it be affecting the world at the highest level, whether it be becoming a better speaker, a better writer, a better poet, I don't care if it's just painting. Anything that you do, you need to start from where you want to be. And you need to work your way back to where you are, and you need to start filling the gaps and understanding what are the things that are really going to move the ball forward until you can make that vision that you have a reality. And then managing your emotional state, focusing on feeling good and executing consistently, and just feeling good and executing. And as you make wins happen, that'll propel you to the next thing and the next thing, especially when not everything works out. You got to take that zoomed out view and say, oh, not everything's going to work out. But guess what? Even if I hit 3 out of 10 times, I'm still doing better than the majors.
Yeah, it's funny. I just literally got off a phone with a client, and we were talking about his actions that he needed to take. And he was tripping up in the idea that the actions that he needed to take, they needed to work. So he needed to make sure that he was taking the right actions. I'm like, guy, look, you got to just go out there and do it. I expect you to fail 95% of the time.
Yes.
Just keep trying it. Because you never know which one's going to work. But if you're not failing 95% of the time, you're not taking enough action. Do it. Just move.
There's an incredible quote. My friend Blake Jamison is an amazing painter, and he has this limited run of prints. I bought 2 of them from some of my best friends. And it just says, I never lose. I only win or learn. And, mathematically, there's actually a formula that goes into that, right? If you think about if my percentage of ability to win, let's just say, goes up with everything I learn, that means that every action I take, I either win, right? There's some probability of that happening, no matter how remote. And then there's a greater probability that I'm going to learn. And then next time I step up to the plate, there's a higher probability that I'm going to win. So not only is your hit rate increasing every time you try, but you're also getting closer and closer to win. And then eventually you might get lucky, right? Even if you have a 2% chance of winning, well, if you did that 50 times, it's pretty likely you're going to take a shot at it, right? You're going to actually get the result that you're looking for. And then from that winning, you'll also learn how to do it again and consistently and create a system around it.
Yeah, and things may change. The system may change. The environment may change. And some of the things that were successful before don't work anymore. So you got to keep experimenting with things, keep doing things. And then the last piece I think that's important to add in here is there's a time factor. You're doing, and it doesn't look like there's any movement. And it's not doing anything. And so many people give up right before the thing's ready to take off. You've got to just keep the gas on.
And I think life tests you in that way, Thor. And I can't prove this scientifically, obviously, but I've had so many experiences in my life where I just made a decision that I was going to work, I was going to die trying, like as crazy as that might sound, the universe starts to kind of like pick up on that. It's like, oh, he's serious. We better get something moving here. So then it just starts kind of falling into place. And the craziest happenstances start to happen. You get a phone call or an email from the right person at the right time, or somebody says, hey, weren't you working on this? It's just your whole vibration just start putting things out into the world that start coming back to you as long as you're committed to the outcome. And if you're committed to the outcome, it just becomes this incredible thing where like everything starts working in your favor. And all the stuff that used to be a closed door is now an open window. And, the right things start showing at the right time. You start gaining a little bit of momentum. And once you get momentum, you know how that works, right? Once a ball starts rolling down the hill, it just picks up speed, right? It's that snowflake. They start gathering. They become a snowball. Pretty soon you got an avalanche on your hands, and it's unstoppable. So just don't give up,
Yeah, downhill is always easier. It's funny. I was just spent 3 days doing SEAL fit with some Navy SEALs out in California, and we had to crawl through mud for about 3/4 of a mile. It was out and back, and we got stuck in the middle. We're up to our waists in mud. We can hardly move. Yeah, so we finally make it to the other side, and we have to repeat it now. And the 2 guys I was with, everybody else was almost done, and we were still on the other side, having them work our way back. And like, guys, don't worry. I said, it was all uphill getting here. And I said, the way back is all downhill. And this is right next, it's by a lake. It was a lake that receded that just has this mud pit. And they look at me like, you're full of it. It's not downhill. I said, yeah, it's an optical illusion based on the mountains. You know, of course it wasn't downhill. But I tell you something, it was much easier going back. Yes. One, we had already done it. And I'm telling you, it really felt downhill. I doubt if it could be because, again, it's a lake. It wouldn't keep the water in. But for some reason, it felt that way.
And that was Mark Devine's program, right? I'm looking forward to doing that. He came out and spoke to us.
Yes.
And I was super excited to do that. We're going to do is to Kokoro Training, which is like a mini Hell Week. I was obsessed. Another thing besides penguins I was obsessed with when I was a kid, Navy SEALs. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL when I was 16 in the worst way possible, but it wasn't meant to be. But I really want to do that. I think that's something that will definitely add a lot of value to my life and give me new perspectives that you just can't anticipate. You know,
the learnings you can see on my Facebook page. I posted the list of learnings from the week, and some of the things that I thought I would get out of it, I did, but I got so much more. And I will go back and I'll do 20X. I'm not quite sure if I'll do Kokoro yet. Kokoro is a 50-hour nonstop hell test of emotional, physical, mental, and that one, if you don't keep up, they just kick you out.
Right, just like SEAL training.
Just like SEAL training.
You fall behind, that's it. It's over.
Fall behind, and it's no man left behind, but we will kick you out.
Yeah, and I've met some real life SEALs. I've spent some time with some of these operators and people that defend our country, get no credit for it whatsoever, and they do some of the most dangerous missions. They go through the most rigorous training on any military in any planet and any number of any history that you could think of, and it's just incredible how humble and dedicated and how strong mentally these people are, because they're not typically like imposing guys or the biggest guys, the strongest guys. No. They're always the guys that are like the little wiry, well put together guys that just will never quit unless they're dead. They'll just keep going. And it's an incredible mindset. And if you can bring even one fraction of that into your daily life, you can accomplish anything, which is why you see a lot of these operators and they're already leaders. Now they plug into the civilian world and they do incredible. Like Jocko Willink is a great example, or Mark Devine.
Absolutely.
That just blow me away every time I have an opportunity to interact with them. And yes, they interact with you. Like if you reach out to these people, they're super humble. They'll take the time to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I actually one of the lessons that I took from it was going forward and hiring new staff. I'm actually going to target the military, and the reason is these guys and women know how to commit 100% to the mission. And if you can find people that are committed to your mission to the level like ex-military people are, you've got yourself some golden people.
Yeah, you're gonna thrive as a result of that.
Yeah, give me somebody with heart, and I'll teach them the strategies. I'll teach them the technologies. But that heart, you can't train. Well, I think you can develop it, but I want to find somebody who already has it.
Yes, and that helps in so many different areas. I mean, if you have the will, like the way will show up. If you're really clear on the what and the why, the how is trivial, right? You'll find the way.
Absolutely.
I've done a lot of work with some veteran organizations, and I want to do more, actually. I'd like to coach some more people kind of transitioning back from this recent conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan, because you have so many leaders that are, they're asked to do so much, and they come back and it's like, okay, go back to your life, and they get like a small kind of week-long maybe reintegration training. They don't know how to do a lot of things that civilians just kind of take for granted. Like nobody teaches these guys how to balance a checkbook. Nobody teaches these guys how to like put a resume together or start a company. And there's so much value. They just get kind of shuffled to the side, and they're told to go on with their lives. A lot of them, they could be doing so much more. So like we've partnered up with organizations like Project 22, which is a great documentary on PBS. I really recommend it. Two friends of mine that came back from war and had some issues with PTSD and went out, and instead of just crawling into a hole somewhere, they decided to do something about it. They heard that statistic, 22 soldiers a day are committing suicide, is unacceptable. Right, we need to do more for these people. So they went on a 6,500-mile bike tour, and they did a documentary. It's been on PBS now for a while. I recommend everybody check it out. And if you want to get involved, that's great too. Support our vets, support our troops. Whether you agree with the war, or the president, or anybody, or not, doesn't matter. Right, these people fight and die so that you can have the liberties that you take for granted sometimes. Or not everybody. I'm not trying to generalize, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a badass. Tell us how you start your day, how you determine what is most important, some of your daily important habits.
Well, thank you for including me among the badass cadre that you call friends. I can't, even begin to measure up to some of these amazing people. But I've studied this quite a bit. I've studied peak performance and human technology and just the way people go about their day for years and years. I've studied all the greats, people, from the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century all the way up to today. And I've had the blessing and honor to spend time with some of my heroes that I look up to as kind of geniuses and gods of productivity. There's two things that they really do well from a high level is they know what they're great at and they stick to it, and they know what to delegate and they know how to lead teams. So those are the two things that really get a lot done on the top level. But day to day, just kind of zooming in as what I do in my day to get myself into a peak emotional state to really deliver each and every day consistently and continue to grow and strengthen that muscle is I get up early, right? I'm getting up with the sun wherever I am. That's usually between 5 and 6 a.m., sometimes 6:30, depending. I'm getting up with the sun and I'm putting my number one mission critical activity first, right? I'm getting up, I'm doing some lemon and greens. Lately it's just been lemon and really good salt. They have this company called Real Salt out in Utah. You can jump on Amazon and grab that. And I'll just do a whole lemon, some water, and some salt. That'll help you get going, clean you out. I'll do some foam rolling. I'll do some mild exercise. And then I'm dialed into right. So like if you catch me at 6:30 to maybe 7:30 in the morning, I'm doing an hour writing. I'm trying to crank out 2 words. Not necessarily because I want it to be Shakespeare or Hemingway, but because that's what I've committed to, right? And I know that I can get to the 100,000 word mark, which is about what the book is, in 60 days or less doing that. Even if I take a day off or miss a little bit here or there, I'm not as inspired one day. I'm allotting that for that. So then it's off to the gym after that because I've gotten my number one most important productivity thing done that day, without any distractions, without any interruptions, and then I work on my body and my physical state, right? Because ultimately, this vessel that we all occupy, that consciousness is seated in, if we're not taking care of it, we're not going to have the most attention, the most energy, the most productive use of our time. And for the rest of the day, you're going to be slightly lacking. I know people that can get more done in 6 hours than other people can get done all week. And it's the way they treat their body. That's 100% the difference. So I really focus on that. And then I put stuff that requires less and less brain power, I push it further and further out into the day. So calls, interviews, radio shows, calls with clients, anything sales related, I'll put in the afternoon. And then anything that's like, it has to get done, but it's not like urgent, I'll put it at the end of the day. So that'd be errands, shopping, groceries, etc. That all goes at the end of the day because I need the least cognitive power to be able to deliver my best at that point in the day. And then I'm usually in bed by 9 or 10 o'clock.
Your day sounds like mine.
Yeah. And you'll see that. You'll see so many different peak performers and top performers have a similar structure. There are a lot of morning people. You'll see there are a lot of people that put their very most important productivity project first thing in the morning before they even talk to anybody. And that's just what you have to do. You can get so much done if you just prioritize. It's incredible. But if you get sucked into your phone first thing, or you start watching the news, or you just deal with other people's stuff, guess what? You're not going to be able to serve at the highest level.
Yeah, an important note here too is that we didn't start off to be morning people, or not everyone has. I wasn't. I trained my body to do that, and that's just where I'm most productive. And I played with it. I wanted to see maybe I'm more productive at night. Maybe I have a different schedule. And then I just realized that, once I got my body trained to it, getting up and hitting it first thing, that was the most important. Plus, what I love being up at. I've got a buddy that gets up at 5 o'clock on the West Coast every day, and I get up at 5 to 5:15. And when I get up at 5:15, he's like, "Yeah, I beat you by 15 minutes." I'm like, "No, you didn't. I beat you by 3 hours." Slacker.
Yeah, this is West Coast, guys.
Exactly. What are you doing? I'm productive. You're sleeping.
I love it.
For the last 16 years, I've been driven by the question of why some people achieve amazing results and others don't. The answer? 90% of their success came from their psychology. So if 90% of their success comes down to their psychology, what was the one thing that enabled them to produce the results that others were not? Their ability to execute. Their ability to get things done. Now, we all know how to get things done, but some of us do it better than others. And some of us are not even coming close to tapping our potential. So if you're truly committed to tapping your potential and really becoming a peak performer and getting the results that you need, want, and desire, take your phone and text the word BESUMMIT. That stands for Business Execution Summit. One word, BE Summit, and text that to 41411. I'm going to send out some additional information on our upcoming event that will truly teach you the science of execution. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day. That concludes this episode with Brad Hart. Please stay tuned later this week for part 2.